Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a pretty brilliant method for measuring a company's hidden geographic exposure to ethical risks, specifically within the massive global engineering and construction sector. It's a really fascinating look at how we can actually put hard, tangible numbers on risks that usually prefer to hide in the shadows.
We've got a clear roadmap today. 1. The industry's high stakes. 2. Defining the corruption risk. 3. The SASB ethics standard. 4. Quantifying geographic risk. 5. Active projects and backlog. And finally, 6. The bottom line. Let's jump right in.
Okay, so here's a massive puzzle to start us off. How on earth can investors, analysts, or even executives put a tangible, auditable number on something as secretive as bribery or corruption? I mean, people committing fraud don't exactly send out quarterly reports detailing their illicit activities, right? So how do we actually measure the risk of it happening?
Section 1. The industry's high stakes.
To really get why this matters, you have to realize just how vulnerable this specific sector is. The engineering and construction industry literally builds our world: power plants, dams, pipelines, highways. And the sheer scale of these mega projects involves navigating some incredibly complex global operations across borders. When you combine managing a sprawling web of local agents and subcontractors with complex project financing, multi-billion-dollar infrastructure contracts, and insanely competitive bidding processes, well, you've basically created a perfect storm for ethical breaches. The pressure to win is just immense.
Section 2. Defining the corruption risk.
So what do these ethical breaches actually look like on the ground? It goes way beyond that Hollywood cliché of sliding a briefcase of cash to a government official. The industry faces massive risks from anti-competitive behaviors. Take a look at these two practices. Complementary bidding is where a company intentionally submits an artificially high bid for a contract they have literally no intention of winning, just to create the illusion of a competitive market. Then you've got bid pooling, where supposed competitors secretly coordinate to split up contracts, basically ensuring everybody gets a predetermined piece of the pie. Both of these completely illegally manipulate the market.
And if you're looking at the bottom line, here's why you need to care. Getting caught carries absolutely devastating consequences. We're talking intense regulatory investigations, massive fines, and entirely ruined reputations. But honestly, the most critical financial hit, it's being formally barred from bidding on future public or private projects. That translates instantly into significant lost revenue and entirely derailed growth.
Section 3. The SASB ethics standard. To help the market actually navigate these hidden landmines, we turn to a highly specific sustainability accounting framework. The SASB standards, which are now managed by the IFRS Foundation, provide a rigorous, standardized way for engineering and construction firms to disclose their sustainability-related financial information. And crucially, there is an entire section dedicated exclusively to business ethics. It's essentially about bringing rigorous financial discipline to supposedly non-financial risks.
Section 4. Quantifying geographic risk.
Okay, this is where the standard gets really clever about putting a concrete number on a company's exposure. Metric IF-EN 510A.1 doesn't even try to measure corruption directly, because, as we established, that's practically impossible. Instead, it measures the company's geographic exposure by tracking where their projects are physically located. It specifically asks companies to disclose two things: the number of active projects and the backlog, in particular high-risk countries.
But how do we define high risk? The standard uses a totally objective third-party validator. It requires companies to look exclusively at projects located in the 20 lowest-ranked countries on Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index. And a quick side note here. Because multiple countries can actually tie for a single rank on this index, you might end up looking at more than 20 countries total. But the point is, this gives investors a crystal-clear, objective lens to see exactly how much of a company's business is anchored in the absolute most ethically hazardous regions on the planet.
Section 5. Active projects and backlog. To really nail down the risk profile, this metric breaks the exposure into two distinct, time-based categories. First up, active projects. The standard defines these as buildings and infrastructure projects actively under development right now, whether they're in the design phase or the actual construction phase at the close of the reporting period. It specifically excludes projects that are already commissioned, so this number tells you exactly how many risky developments are underway today, requiring immediate oversight.
Second, we have the backlog. Now, the standard defines backlog as the monetary value of projects not yet completed at the close of the reporting period. It represents revenue that is contractually expected down the road, but hasn't actually been recognized on the books yet. Basically, this is the pipeline.
When you put these together, it brilliantly maps out a timeline of risk. By splitting the disclosure into the raw number of active projects versus the financial value of the backlog, you immediately see the trajectory. Active projects reveal your current, real-time exposure to corruption today. The backlog shows you what's lurking in the pipeline for tomorrow, your future geographic exposure tied to expected revenue. Think about it. If a massive percentage of a company's future revenue is tethered to the 20 most corrupt regions in the world, that is absolutely essential data for any risk assessment.
Section 6. The bottom line.
So, what's the ultimate takeaway for companies operating in these highly sensitive regions? The standard makes it abundantly clear. Because these firms are operating in such complex, high-wire environments, simply having a corporate rulebook just isn't going to cut it. Operating in those 20 lowest-ranked countries requires extreme diligence. To survive, it absolutely relies on a deeply ingrained ethical culture, relentless employee training, totally airtight governance structures, and rigorous internal controls. Because, at the end of the day, the physical location of a project is a very direct proxy for ethical risk. If you aren't meticulously tracking where your infrastructure is being built and exactly what's sitting in your backlog in those high-risk zones, you really have to ask yourself, does your footprint hide massive, unrecognized financial risks? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this gave you a powerful new tool for assessing geographic exposure.